Kazuki stood in the middle of the school hallway holding a small box wrapped in blue paper. Inside was a silver bracelet he had saved 3 months to buy. His hands were shaking, not from the cold, but from excitement. Today was his boyfriend Ryota's birthday, and Kazuki couldn't wait to see his face light up when he opened the gift. They had been dating for almost a year now. Kazuki remembered the first day Ryota had smiled at him in art class, how his heart had jumped like a frightened rabbit. Ryota was popular, funny, and everyone wanted to be his friend, but he had chosen Kazuki. Quiet, bookish Kazuki who spent more time in the library than anywhere else. The morning sun poured through the tall windows of Sakura High School. Students rushed past, laughing and talking about weekend plans. Kazuki checked his phone again. Ryota had sent a message asking him to meet at the school courtyard during lunch break. That was unusual because they always ate together by the fountain near the back gate. But maybe Ryota wanted to do something special for his birthday. Kazuki's best friend Hana caught up with him near the lockers. She was carrying a stack of manga books and nearly dropped them when she saw the gift box in his hands. "Is that for Ryota?" she asked, her eyes wide with curiosity. Kazuki nodded, feeling his cheeks turn warm. "Do you think he'll like it?" Hana smiled, but there was something strange in her expression, something worried. "Kazuki, I need to tell you something. This morning, I saw Ryota near the gym with," but before she could finish, the lunch bell rang loud and sharp. Students poured into the hallways like a river breaking through a dam. Kazuki gave Hana an apologetic look and hurried toward the courtyard. He didn't want to be late. The courtyard was the heart of the school, a beautiful space with cherry blossom trees and stone benches arranged in a circle. As Kazuki approached, he noticed a crowd had gathered. Students were whispering and pointing at something in the center. His stomach twisted with a bad feeling, the kind you get right before something terrible happens. He pushed through the crowd, clutching the blue gift box against his chest, and then he saw them. Ryota was standing under the largest cherry blossom tree, and he wasn't alone. Daichi, the captain of the soccer team, had his arms wrapped around Ryota's waist. They were kissing. Not a quick, accidental kiss. A real kiss. The kind that made Kazuki's entire world tilt sideways and crash. Someone in the crowd gasped. Someone else laughed nervously. But all Kazuki could hear was the pounding of his own heartbeat in his ears, loud as thunder. Ryota pulled away from Daichi and his eyes met Kazuki's across the courtyard. There was no surprise on his face. No guilt, no sorry. Just coldness, like looking at a stranger. "Kazuki," Ryota said, his voice carrying over the whispers. "I guess you found out." The blue gift box slipped from Kazuki's fingers and hit the ground. The wrapping paper tore, and the silver bracelet rolled out onto the stone path, catching the sunlight for just a moment before stopping near Ryota's feet. "Found out what?" Kazuki's voice came out small and broken. Daichi smirked and pulled Ryota closer. "That he's been with me for the past 3 months. Sorry, but Ryota got bored of you. He said dating you was like watching paint dry." The crowd erupted in shocked whispers and some mean laughter. Kazuki felt like he was drowning in air. His lungs worked but couldn't seem to find oxygen. Ryota picked up the bracelet and examined it with a bored expression. "You really thought we were serious? Come on, Kazuki. You're nice and all, but you're so boring. Daichi is exciting. He takes me places, buys me things, makes me feel alive." He tossed the bracelet back toward Kazuki. It landed at his feet like trash. "We're done. Don't text me anymore." Kazuki wanted to say something, wanted to shout or cry or ask why, but his throat had closed up completely. He bent down, picked up the bracelet with trembling fingers, and turned away from the crowd. Every step felt like walking through deep water. Behind him, he could hear Daichi laughing and someone saying "poor guy" in a pitying voice that made everything worse. He didn't go to his afternoon classes. Instead, Kazuki found himself walking to the park near his house, the same park where Ryota had asked him to be his boyfriend under the stars last summer. He sat on a bench and stared at the silver bracelet in his palm. All those months of saving money, all those nights staying up late to help Ryota study, all those times he had defended Ryota when others called him selfish or careless. It had all been a lie. He had been a fool. Tears finally came, hot and angry, streaming down his face. Kazuki let them fall. Nobody was here to see. Nobody cared anyway. That evening, when Kazuki finally dragged himself home, his mother was waiting in the living room. She looked nervous, fidgeting with her hands the way she did when she had difficult news to share. "Kazuki, dear, come sit down," she said gently. "Your father and I need to talk to you about something important." Kazuki's father emerged from the kitchen carrying tea on a tray. They both sat across from him on the couch, exchanging worried glances. "We know today was hard," his mother began. "Hana's mother called and told us what happened at school. I'm so sorry, sweetheart." Kazuki stared at the floor. He didn't want to talk about Ryota. He didn't want to think about the humiliation, the betrayal, the pain that sat in his chest like a stone. His father cleared his throat. "There's something we need to discuss with you. It's about our family business and a promise I made many years ago." Kazuki looked up, confused. His father ran a small but successful tea import company. "What did that have to do with anything?" "When you were very young," his father continued, "my business nearly failed. I was going to lose everything. But a man named Hiroshi Tanaka helped me. He invested money, connected me with suppliers, and saved our family. In return, I made him a promise." Kazuki's mother reached over and squeezed his hand. "The Tanaka family has a son named Kenji. He's a few years older than you. The promise your father made was that when you turned 18, you would consider an arranged marriage with Kenji. It's an old-fashioned tradition, we know, but it would strengthen both families and honor the debt we owe." The words hit Kazuki like cold water. Arranged marriage. This sounded like something from a historical drama, not real life. "You don't have to decide right now," his father added quickly, "but the Tanaka family would like to meet you next week. Just dinner, just talking, no pressure." Kazuki sat in stunned silence. His life had completely fallen apart in one day. His boyfriend had betrayed him publicly, broken his heart into 1,000 pieces, and now his parents were asking him to meet a stranger he might have to marry. But as he thought about Ryota's cruel words, Daichi's mocking laughter, and the way everyone had watched his humiliation like entertainment, something shifted inside Kazuki. A small flame of anger began to burn where the sadness had been. Maybe this was exactly what he needed. A fresh start, a chance to move forward instead of staying trapped in the pain. And maybe, just maybe, a way to show Ryota that he didn't need him, that Kazuki could find happiness without him. "Okay, I'll meet him." His parents looked surprised but relieved. They hugged him tight and promised everything would be all right. That night, lying in bed, Kazuki looked at the silver bracelet one last time before putting it in a drawer he would never open again. Tomorrow would be different. Tomorrow he would begin again. And somewhere deep inside, beneath all the hurt, a tiny seed of hope began to grow. The restaurant where they met was the kind of place Kazuki had only seen in magazines. Crystal chandeliers hung from high ceilings, and waiters in perfect suits glided between tables like dancers. Everything was expensive and beautiful and made Kazuki feel completely out of place in his simple button-up shirt and nervous sweating. The Tanaka family was already seated when Kazuki arrived with his parents. Hiroshi Tanaka was a large man with silver hair and kind eyes that crinkled when he smiled. His wife, Yuki, was elegant and warm, immediately standing to greet them with genuine affection. But it was the young man sitting beside them who caught Kazuki's attention and held it. Kenji Tanaka looked nothing like Kazuki had imagined. He wore glasses that made him look serious and intelligent. His hair was neat and dark, and he had this calm, quiet energy about him, like a still lake before sunrise. When their eyes met, Kenji gave a small, polite bow but said nothing. They all sat down and the adults immediately fell into comfortable conversation about business and family news. Kazuki picked at his food, barely tasting the expensive dishes that kept appearing on the table. Across from him, Kenji ate slowly and said very little, occasionally nodding when his parents asked him questions. After what felt like forever, Kenji's mother smiled brightly and said, "Why don't you two young people take a walk in the garden? The restaurant has a beautiful outdoor space. Get to know each other a little." It wasn't really a suggestion. Both sets of parents were clearly hoping they would bond, or at least talk without adults hovering. Kazuki's stomach churned with nervousness, but he nodded and stood up. Kenji did the same, pushing his glasses up his nose in a gesture that seemed automatic. The garden was indeed beautiful, with stone pathways winding between carefully trimmed bushes and small ponds with colorful fish. Paper lanterns hung from branches, glowing softly in the evening light. It was peaceful here, far away from the noise of the restaurant. They walked in awkward silence for several minutes. Kazuki kept stealing glances at Kenji, trying to figure out what he was thinking. Was he angry about this arrangement? Embarrassed? Did he already have someone he loved? Finally, Kenji stopped walking and turned to face him. "You don't want to be here," he said simply. It wasn't a question. Kazuki blinked in surprise. It's not that. It's okay," Kenji interrupted gently. "I don't want to be here either. Not like this anyway. Arranged marriages are outdated and unfair. But our parents have expectations, and I understand we both have reasons for going along with this." The honesty was shocking. Kazuki had expected polite lies and uncomfortable small talk, not direct truth. "Why are you doing this then?" Kazuki asked. "If you don't want an arranged marriage, why did you agree?" Kenji was quiet for a moment, looking at the fish swimming in lazy circles. "My parents worry about me. I'm 23 and I've never dated anyone. I spend all my time working at my father's company and studying. They think I'm lonely. They think this will make me happy." He turned back to Kazuki with an expression that was both sad and accepting. "And maybe they're right. Maybe I am lonely. What about you?" Kazuki hadn't planned to tell the truth. He'd planned to be polite and distant and keep his broken heart private. But something about Kenji's openness made him want to be honest too. "My boyfriend cheated on me," Kazuki said, the words tumbling out before he could stop them. "In front of the whole school, he kissed another guy and told everyone I was boring. That dating me was like watching paint dry. It happened a week ago, and I still feel like I can't breathe sometimes." He expected pity or awkward sympathy. Instead, Kenji nodded slowly like this made perfect sense. "That's why you said yes to meeting me. You want to prove you can move on. Show him you're fine without him. Is that wrong?" Kazuki asked defensively. "No," Kenji said firmly. "It's human. Revenge doesn't always mean hurting someone back. Sometimes it just means becoming so happy they realize what they lost. Sometimes the best revenge is living well." They started walking again, and somehow the awkwardness had dissolved. Kenji asked about school and Kazuki's interests. Kazuki learned that Kenji loved old books and classical music, that he had a cat named Mochi, and that he secretly wanted to be a writer, but his family expected him to run the business someday.
"Can I tell you something strange?"
Kenji said as they completed their second loop around the garden. "I'm glad it's you. What do you mean?" "When my parents first told me about this arrangement, I was angry. I felt trapped. But meeting you tonight, talking to you like this, I don't feel trapped anymore. I feel like maybe we could actually be friends. Maybe that's a good place to start." Kazuki felt something warm bloom in his chest, something he hadn't felt since before Ryota destroyed everything. Hope. Small and fragile, but real. "Friends sounds good," Kazuki agreed. They returned to the table where their parents were clearly trying not to look too eager for news. Kenji's father raised an eyebrow. "So, how did it go?" Kenji glanced at Kazuki and then back at his father. "We'd like to spend more time together, get to know each other properly before any big decisions are made." Both sets of parents beamed like they'd just won the lottery. They were already making plans for future dinners and outings. Kazuki's mother was practically glowing with happiness. Over the next few months, Kazuki and Kenji met regularly. Coffee shops, bookstores, quiet walks in the park. They texted every day, sharing photos of Mochi the cat, discussing books they were reading, complaining about annoying family members. Slowly, carefully, they built something genuine. Kenji never pushed, never demanded anything. He was patient and kind and funny in a quiet way that snuck up on you. He remembered little things Kazuki mentioned in passing and asked thoughtful questions. When Kazuki had bad days where Ryota's betrayal still stung, Kenji just listened without trying to fix everything. And somewhere along the way, Kazuki realized he was healing. The stone in his chest was getting smaller. He laughed more easily. The future didn't seem so dark and empty anymore. One afternoon, they were sitting in Kenji's apartment, watching Mochi chase a toy mouse across the floor. Kenji had made tea, and they were comfortable in the peaceful silence that had become natural between them. "Kazuki," Kenji said suddenly, "I need to tell you something." Kazuki's heart jumped. That serious tone could mean anything. "I know we started this as friends, as a practical arrangement to make our parents happy, but things have changed for me." Kenji set down his teacup and looked directly at Kazuki. "I have feelings for you, real feelings. And I understand if you don't feel the same way. I understand if you still see this as just an arrangement. but I couldn't keep lying to you about how I feel." The room seemed to hold its breath. Mochi stopped playing and looked at them with curious green eyes. Kazuki's mind raced. Did he feel the same way? When had safe, comfortable friendship turned into something more? He thought about how his heart beat faster when Kenji texted, how he looked forward to their meetings more than anything else in his week, how Kenji's smile made him feel warm and protected and valued. "I feel it too," Kazuki whispered. "I didn't realize it until you said something, but I feel it too." Kenji's face broke into the most beautiful smile Kazuki had ever seen. He reached across the couch and took Kazuki's hand, threading their fingers together carefully, like holding something precious. "Then maybe we can try this for real," Kenji said. "Not because our parents want it, not because of any arrangement, but because we want to, because we choose each other." Kazuki squeezed his hand, feeling tears prick his eyes, but these were happy tears, healing tears. "Yes," he said. "I choose you too." 6 months later, everything had changed. Kazuki had graduated high school and started college, studying literature just like he'd always dreamed. Kenji had finally convinced his father to let him write on the side while slowly learning the family business. They spent weekends together, sometimes at Kenji's apartment with Mochi, sometimes exploring the city, finding new restaurants and bookshops, and quiet places where they could just be themselves. Kazuki's heart had fully healed. The pain Ryota caused had faded to a distant memory, something that hurt him once, but couldn't touch him anymore. He was happy, genuinely, completely happy in a way he'd never been before. Then came the invitation to Hana's birthday party. She was having a big celebration at a fancy event hall, inviting everyone from their high school class. Kazuki almost said no. He didn't need to see those people again, but Hana had been a true friend through everything, and he wanted to celebrate with her. "Come with me," Kazuki asked Kenji that evening. "Be my date officially. I want my old friends to meet you." Kenji looked up from his laptop, where he'd be writing. "Are you sure? Won't that be difficult, seeing your ex?" "Ryota might not even be there," Kazuki said. "And even if he is, I'm not afraid anymore. I have you now. I know what real love feels like. What Ryota and I had was nothing compared to this." Kenji closed his laptop and pulled Kazuki into a gentle hug. "Okay, then let's go together." The night of the party, Kazuki dressed carefully in clothes Kenji had helped him pick out. Nothing too fancy, but he looked good, confident, like someone who had found himself after being lost. The event hall was already crowded when they arrived. Music pumped through speakers and colorful lights danced across the walls. Kazuki spotted Hana immediately and she rushed over, squealing with excitement. "You came! And you brought him!" She hugged Kazuki tight and then turned to Kenji with a huge smile. "I've heard so much about you. I'm so glad Kazuki found someone who treats him right." Kenji bowed politely. "Thank you for having me. Happy birthday." They spent the first hour mingling and catching up with old classmates. Some people asked about Kazuki's new relationship with genuine curiosity. Others whispered and stared, but Kazuki didn't care. He was happy. That was all that mattered. Then Ryota walked in. He wasn't alone. Dachi was beside him, but they weren't holding hands or acting like a couple. In fact, they seemed to be arguing about something, their voices sharp even over the music. Kazuki's stomach clenched automatically, an old reflex, but Kenji squeezed his hand and the nervousness faded. "You okay?" Kenji asked softly. "Yeah," Kazuki said, surprised to realize it was true. "I really am." They were standing near the refreshment table when Ryota noticed them. He stopped mid-argument with Daichi and stared. His eyes went from Kazuki to Kenji to their linked hands, and something complicated crossed his face. He walked over, leaving Daichi behind. Up close, Ryota looked tired. The spark that used to make him seem so exciting had dimmed. "Kazuki," Ryota said, his voice uncertain. "Hey, it's been a while." "Hello, Ryota," Kazuki replied calmly. Ryota's eyes fixed on Kenji with obvious curiosity. "Who's this?" "This is Kenji Tanaka," Kazuki said, and he couldn't help the pride in his voice. "My fiancé." Ryota's jaw actually dropped. "Fiancé? You're engaged, but it's only been, what, 6 months since you humiliated me in front of everyone," Kazuki finished. "Yes? Best thing that ever happened to me, actually. If you hadn't shown me who you really were, I would have wasted more time on someone who never valued me." Kenji stood quietly beside Kazuki, supportive but letting him speak for himself. That was one of the things Kazuki loved about him. Kenji never fought his battles for him, but he was always there as backup. Ryota looked genuinely shocked. I didn't think you'd move on so fast. You thought I'd be broken forever? Kazuki asked. That I'd pine after you and prove you were important. Sorry to disappoint you, but I found someone who actually loves me. Someone kind and honest and real. For the first time since that terrible day in the courtyard, Kazuki saw real regret on Ryota's face. Kazuki, I'm sorry. I know I hurt you badly. Daichi and I broke up 2 months ago. He was just using me to make someone else jealous. I realized too late that what we had was real. That you were good to me and I threw it away for someone shallow and cruel. Kazuki felt Kenji's hand tighten slightly around his. A silent question. Do you need me to step in? But Kazuki didn't need rescuing. Not anymore. I appreciate the apology, Kazuki said. But it doesn't change anything. I've moved on. I'm happy now. I hope you find happiness too, Ryota. I really do. Just not with me. Ryota opened his mouth, closed it, and then nodded slowly. He's lucky, he said quietly, glancing at Kenji. Treat him better than I did. I will, Kenji said simply. Every single day. Ryota walked away, disappearing back into the crowd. Kazuki watched him go and felt absolutely nothing. No anger, no sadness, no lingering what-ifs. Just peace. You handled that perfectly, Kenji said, pulling Kazuki close. I'm so proud of you. The rest of the party was wonderful. They danced together, laughed with friends, and Kazuki felt lighter than he had in forever. People came up to congratulate them on their engagement. Everyone wanted to know their love story. As they were leaving, Hana pulled Kazuki aside one last time. I'm so happy for you, she said, tears in her eyes. That day in the courtyard, I was so worried about you. But look at you now. You're glowing. You found real love. I did, Kazuki agreed. Sometimes the worst thing that happens to you leads to the best thing. Ryota, breaking my heart, opened the door for Kenji to walk in. Driving home that night, Kenji reached over and took Kazuki's hand while keeping his eyes on the road. You know what I realized tonight, Kenji said. What? That the best revenge isn't about making someone regret what they did. It's about becoming so happy without them that you forget they ever had the power to hurt you. Kazuki looked at the man beside him, this wonderful person who had appeared in his life when he needed someone most. They had started as strangers forced together by family obligation, but they had chosen to become friends, and then they had chosen to fall in love. I love you, Kazuki said, meaning it with every part of his healed heart. I love you too, Kenji replied. Always. 6 months later, they got married in a small ceremony with just close family and friends. It wasn't the huge public spectacle some people expected. It was intimate and perfect, filled with genuine joy instead of show. Kazuki heard through Hana that Ryota hadn't come to the wedding even though she'd been invited. Some people said he'd moved to another city. Some said he was still trying to figure out his life. Kazuki hoped he found peace eventually, but honestly, he rarely thought about Ryota anymore. His life was too full of good things. Morning coffee with Kenji, mochi curling up between them on the couch, late-night conversations about dreams and fears and silly things, building a future together, one day at a time. That was the real story. Not the betrayal that broke him, not even the revenge of moving on, but the healing that came after. The love that grew slow and steady and real. The happy ending he built himself with someone who chose him every single day. And Kazuki realized that this peaceful, joyful, authentic love was the sweetest revenge of all. Not because it hurt Ryota to see him happy, but because Kazuki had proven to himself that he was worthy of real love, that his heart, once broken, could heal even stronger than before. If you enjoyed this story of Kazuki and Kenji's journey from betrayal to true love, please like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments. Have you ever found unexpected happiness after heartbreak? Let us know your story below, and don't forget to hit that notification bell for more heartwarming romance tales every week.